The stars twisted and bent as the diplomatic ship dropped out of hyperspace. Ambassador Zeth Ka felt his stomach lurch despite the artificial gravity. Even after 300 years of space travel, the transition always made him feel sick. He walked to the bridge and looked at the view screen. A yellow star burned in the distance. Around it, several planets moved in their slow dance. The third planet was blue and green with white clouds. It looked peaceful from here. "Report," Zeth Ka said to his crew. Commander Vixna, a tall alien with purple skin and 4 arms, touched her control panel. "We are at the edge of the Sol system, Ambassador. The third planet shows signs of intelligent life. Initial scans confirm our intelligence reports." Zeth Ka nodded. His silver scales caught the light from the star as he moved. His compound eyes studied the data flowing across the screens. Everything matched what the Galactic Confederation had told him. A primitive species called humans lived on the third planet. They had just learned to split atoms. They used chemical rockets to barely reach their own moon. No faster than light travel, no energy shields, no real technology at all. "How many of them are there?" he asked. "About 8 billion, Vixna replied. "They are spread across 7 large landmasses. They fight among themselves frequently. Their technology is at least 500 years behind the weakest Confederation member." Zeth Ka allowed himself a small smile. This would be easy. The humans would be grateful to join the galactic community. They always were. Show them some advanced technology, promise them protection from hostile aliens, offer them a place in something bigger than their small world. Standard procedure. He had done this 47 times before. 47 species had eagerly signed the membership agreements. They gave up their independence for safety and technology. It was a fair trade, really. The Confederation protected them and guided them. In return, the new members provided resources and followed Confederation law. "Send the first contact message," Zeth Ka ordered. "Use their dominant languages. Make it friendly but impressive." The message was simple. "Greetings from the Galactic Confederation. We come in peace. We offer friendship and membership in the greatest alliance in the galaxy. Please respond with your designated representatives." They waited. Zeth Ka reviewed his notes about human culture while they traveled toward the blue planet. Humans were tribal creatures who had only recently learned to work together across their planet. They had many different governments, but something called the United Nations seemed to speak for all of them in important matters. The humans were also violent. Their history was full of wars. They had weapons that could destroy cities, but nothing that could threaten a Confederation ship. Their strongest bombs were like firecrackers compared to antimatter charges. Their fastest ships could barely leave their atmosphere. "Ambassador," the communications officer called out. "We have a response." Zeth Ka straightened. "Put it on screen." A human appeared on the view screen. She had brown skin and gray hair pulled back neatly. Her eyes were intelligent and careful. She wore a dark blue suit that looked formal. "Greetings," she said in a clear voice. "I am Secretary General Maria Santos of the United Nations. We have received your message with great interest. We would be honored to meet with your representatives." Zeth Ka was pleased. The human sounded respectful and eager. "Secretary General Santos, I am Ambassador Zeth Ka of the Galactic Confederation. We request permission to land a shuttle at coordinates we will provide. Our diplomatic team wishes to discuss membership terms with your leadership." "Of course, Ambassador. We are preparing a facility for your arrival. May I ask how many representatives you are bringing?" 12, Zeth Ka replied. "Each from a different member species of the Confederation. We want you to see the diversity and strength of our alliance." Santos nodded. "We look forward to meeting them all. We will have our own diplomatic team ready." The screen went dark. Zeth Ka turned to his crew. "Prepare the diplomatic shuttle. Full ceremonial protocols. I want the humans to be impressed from the moment we land." 2 hours later, Zeth Ka and his team descended through Earth's atmosphere. The planet was beautiful, he had to admit. Vast. Oceans sparkled in the sunlight. Green continents stretched beneath white clouds. It reminded him of his own homeworld before the mining corporations changed it. Their shuttle landed at what the humans called the United Nations headquarters. A crowd of humans waited behind barriers, staring at the alien ship with wonder and fear. Zeth Ka noted the primitive security measures. Human soldiers carried projectile weapons that could not penetrate even basic energy shields. The shuttle. Door opened with a soft hiss. Zeth Ka stepped out first, his silver scales gleaming in Earth's yellow sunlight. Behind him came the other 11 ambassadors. Each represented a different species, a different world that had joined the Confederation. Some walked on 2 legs, others on 4 or 6. Some had fur, others scales or smooth skin. The humans gasped and pointed. Secretary General Santos waited at the bottom of the shuttle ramp. She did not look afraid, which impressed Zeth Ka slightly. Many primitive species cowered when they first saw advanced aliens. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Zeth Ka," Santos said formally. "We are honored by your presence." "The honor is ours, Secretary General," Zeth Ka replied. "We bring greetings from 3,000 member worlds and the hope of friendship between our peoples." Santos led them into a large building. The humans had prepared a meeting room with chairs and tables sized for different alien anatomies. It showed attention to detail that pleased Zeth Ka. These humans were trying to be good hosts. The diplomatic team arranged themselves around the table. Zeth Ka took the center position, with the other ambassadors flanking him. The human delegation sat across from them. Besides Santos, there were representatives from major human governments and organizations. "Before we begin formal negotiations," Zeth Ka said, "let me explain what the Galactic Confederation offers. We are an alliance of peaceful species dedicated to mutual prosperity and protection. Our members enjoy advanced technology, interstellar trade, and security from hostile forces." He gestured, and a hologram appeared above the table. It showed a map of local space with Confederation territory marked in blue. Hundreds of star systems sparkled like jewels. "We control over half of this galactic arm," Zeth Ka continued. "Our fleet protects trade routes and maintains peace. Our scientists share knowledge that has eliminated disease and extended life on member worlds. Our economy provides prosperity for all." The humans stared at the hologram with obvious amazement. Zeth Ka had seen that look before. The scale of galactic civilization always overwhelmed primitive species. "What would membership require of Earth?" Santos asked carefully. "Integration into our command structure," Zeth Ka explained. "Your military forces would join the Confederation Defense Fleet under our experienced commanders. Your government would adapt Confederation law as supreme authority. Your resources would contribute to the common good of all member worlds." He made it sound beneficial, but Zeth Ka knew the reality. Earth would become a client state, providing raw materials and soldiers, while the core Confederation worlds enjoyed the benefits. That was how it always worked. The strong guided the weak for everyone's benefit. "We would need time to consider such an important decision," Santos said slowly. Zeth Ka smiled. "Of course. We understand the magnitude of what we offer. Shall we say 48 hours for your leadership to discuss the terms?" "That would be acceptable." As the session ended, Zeth Ka felt satisfied. The humans were reacting exactly as expected. They were awed by Confederation power and technology. They understood their primitive position. Soon, they would gratefully accept membership and become the 48th species under Confederation protection. He had no idea how wrong he was. Zeth Ka spent the 48 hours reviewing intelligence reports about Earth. The data painted a picture of a fractured, primitive world. The humans fought constantly among themselves. Their weapons were crude. Their technology was laughably basic. They had not even mastered fusion power properly, yet something bothered him. During the first meeting, he had noticed the way the human negotiators looked at each other. They seemed to be communicating without words. There were subtle glances and tiny gestures that spoke of deeper understanding. He dismissed his concerns. All primitive species had their little secrets and customs. It did not matter. When faced with the reality of galactic power, they all made the same choice. The second meeting began exactly on schedule. Secretary General Santos entered the room with the same diplomatic smile. Her team followed behind her, all wearing the same carefully neutral expressions. Ambassador Zethka, Santos said as she took her seat. We have discussed your generous offer at length. Earth's leadership has many questions before we can make such an important decision. Of course, Zethka replied smoothly. Please, ask. Whatever concerns you. A human general leaned forward. He was an older man with gray hair and hard eyes. General Morrison, United States Joint Chiefs of Staff. Can you tell us more about the Confederation's military structure? Certainly. The Confederation Defense Fleet consists of ships from all member worlds. Each species contributes according to their abilities. Experienced commanders from core worlds lead mixed crews to ensure maximum efficiency. And Earth's military forces would be integrated into this fleet? Morrison asked. Yes. Your personnel would serve alongside veterans from dozens of worlds. They would learn proper tactics and the use of advanced weapons. It is a great opportunity for advancement. Morrison nodded slowly. What about planetary defense? Would Earth retain any independent military capability? Zethka's scales rippled slightly. The question showed dangerous thinking. Member worlds have no need for independent military forces. The Confederation fleet provides all necessary protection. Another human spoke up. She was younger with short brown hair and the bearing of a scientist. Dr. Chen, Earth Science Council. What about our research programs? Would Earth scientists be allowed to continue independent projects? All research is coordinated through Confederation Science Division, Zethka explained patiently. This prevents dangerous experiments and ensures discoveries benefit all member species. Your scientists would have access to knowledge far beyond anything Earth could develop alone. Dr. Chen exchanged a quick glance with Santos. But we would not be allowed to pursue our own research directions. There would be no need, Zethka said. Why struggle with primitive methods when you can access the accumulated knowledge of 3,000 worlds? More questions followed. Each one showed the same pattern. The humans asked about independence, about maintaining their own choices, about keeping control of their world and their people. Zethka answered each question with growing impatience. Finally, Santos raised her hand for silence. Ambassador, we appreciate the detailed explanations. However, I must be direct. The terms you describe sound less like membership and more like surrender. Zethka felt a moment of surprise. Few species spoke so bluntly during negotiations. Usually, they danced around the reality with polite words. Secretary General, perhaps you misunderstand the benefits of membership. Let me show you what the Confederation can offer. He activated another hologram. This one showed images of member worlds, cities that stretched to the sky, ships that moved between stars like birds between trees, medical facilities where any disease could be cured, farms that fed billions with perfect efficiency. This is what awaits Earth, Zethka said. Prosperity beyond your current imagination, an end to want and suffering, perfect order and security. The humans stared at the images, but their expressions were not what Zethka expected. Instead of wonder and desire, he saw something that looked almost like pity. It is very impressive, Santos said carefully. But we notice something in these images. All the cities look the same. All the ships have identical designs. Where is the diversity you spoke of? Standardization promotes efficiency, Zethka replied automatically. When all members follow the same proven methods, waste is eliminated. General Morrison leaned back in his chair. Ambassador, how many member species have left the Confederation? The question hit Zeth-Ka like a physical blow. Left? No species leaves the Confederation. Why would they abandon prosperity and protection? So, once a species joins, they can never change their mind? There is no reason to change their mind, Zeth-Ka said firmly. The Confederation provides everything any species could need. Dr. Chen spoke again. What about the Zalari? Our deep space monitors have detected distress signals from their home system. Are they still happy members? Zeth-Ka's compound eyes widened slightly. How could these primitives know about the Zalari situation? The rebellion in that system was classified information. The Confederation had been forced to use strong measures to restore order. I am not familiar with any Zalari problems, he said carefully. Perhaps your primitive sensors misread some cosmic phenomena. The humans looked at each other again with those subtle expressions. Santos spoke quietly with her aide, who whispered something in her ear. She nodded and turned back to Zeth-Ka. Ambassador, we have received a communication that requires our immediate attention. Would you mind if we took a brief recess? Of course not, Zeth-Ka said, though he felt increasingly uncomfortable. Something was happening that he did not understand. The humans left the room. Through the windows, Zeth-Ka could see them gathering in small groups, talking quietly among themselves. Their body language showed urgency and concern. After 20 minutes, they returned. Santos looked directly at Zeth-Ka with an expression he had never seen before in 47 first contact missions. It was not fear or awe or gratitude. It was determination. Ambassador, we have discussed your offer thoroughly. Earth must respectfully decline membership in the Galactic Confederation at this time. Zeth-Ka felt his world tilt. Excuse me? Did you say decline? Yes. We appreciate the opportunity, but we do not believe Confederation membership is in Earth's best interest. You do not understand, Zeth-Ka said, struggling to process what he was hearing. No species has ever refused membership. The benefits are obvious. The protection is essential. Without the Confederation, you are vulnerable to countless threats. Santos smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. We understand perfectly, Ambassador. That is why we must decline. But you have no choice. Zeth-Ka stood up, his diplomatic training cracking. You are a primitive species on a single world. You have no defenses against galactic threats. You need our protection. General Morrison stood as well. Ambassador, I think this meeting is over. We appreciate you taking the time to explain the Confederation's position. We hope you understand ours. Zeth-Ka looked around the room at the human faces. Everyone showed the same calm determination. They were not afraid. They were not awed. They were simply resolved. This is a mistake, he said desperately. When the other powers in this region learn that Earth has rejected Confederation protection, they will see you as easy prey. Pirates and raiders will come for your resources. Hostile species will conquer your world. You will beg us to reconsider. Santos stood and walked to the window. Outside, the primitive human city continued its daily business. Millions of people went about their lives, unaware that their leaders had just made what seemed like a suicidal decision. Perhaps, Santos said quietly, but that will be our choice to make. As the meeting ended and the humans escorted them back to their shuttle, Zeth-Ka felt the first real uncertainty of his diplomatic career. In 300 years of negotiations, no species had ever said no to the Confederation. He needed to contact his superiors immediately. They needed to know that something very unusual was happening on this primitive blue world. Zeth-Ka paced the bridge of the diplomatic ship like a caged animal. His silver scales clicked against each other as he moved. In 3 centuries of diplomatic service, he had never failed to secure a membership agreement. Never. Sir, Commander, Vixna called from her station. Incoming transmission from Confederation High Command. Priority Alpha encryption. Put it through to my private chamber, Zeth-Ka snapped. He sealed himself in the secure communications room and activated the hologram projector. The image that appeared made him straighten immediately. Supreme Admiral Korth Vel stood before him, all 4 meters of armored bulk radiating authority. The Thoraxian's red eyes glowed with barely controlled anger. "Ambassador," Korth Vel's voice rumbled like distant thunder. "I have received your preliminary report. Explain to me how a primitive species rejected our generous offer." "Supreme Admiral, the humans are unusual. They show no fear of galactic threats. They seem to believe they can survive without our protection." "Irrelevant," Korth Vel cut him off. "I am sending you updated intelligence data. Review it immediately." New files flooded Zeth Ka's personal display: deep space sensor readings, geological surveys, resource analysis reports. His compound eyes widened as he absorbed the information. The third planet was not just another backwater world. Hidden beneath its surface were massive deposits of quantrium crystals, the rarest element in the known galaxy. These crystals powered faster-than-light drives and energy shields. A single planet with this much quantrium could supply the entire Confederation fleet for centuries. "Do you understand now, Ambassador?" Korth Vel asked coldly. "This is not about adding another member species. This is about securing the most valuable resource discovery in 50 years. Zeth Ka felt his stomach sink. "Sir, the humans believe this is a genuine diplomatic mission. If we change our approach now—" "The humans will adapt to reality," Korth Vel interrupted. "Your job is to make them understand their position. They can join willingly and maintain some dignity, or they can be integrated through alternative means." The Supreme Admiral leaned forward, his massive form filling the hologram. "Let me be clear, Ambassador. The Confederation needs those quantrium deposits. Human cooperation would be preferable, but it is not essential. Make them understand this." The transmission ended, leaving Zeth Ka alone with his thoughts. He had always known the Confederation was not entirely altruistic. The strong guided the weak, and resources flowed toward the core worlds. But he had believed the member species benefited from the arrangement. Now, he saw the truth. The Confederation was not an alliance. It was an empire with a friendly face. He activated the ship's internal communication system. "All diplomatic team members to the main conference room. Immediate briefing required." 20 minutes later, Zeth Ka stood before his colleagues. Representatives from 12 different species who had joined the Confederation over the past few centuries. He looked at their faces and wondered how many of their own worlds had faced the same choice he was about to offer the humans. "Our mission. Parameters have changed," he began. "High Command has provided new intelligence about this world's strategic value. The humans must accept membership. There are no alternatives." Ambassador Yixtal from Centauri raised a tentacle. "What if they maintain their refusal?" "Then we proceed to Phase 2 protocols," Zeth Ka replied. "Economic pressure, resource blockades, demonstration of superior force, standard integration procedures for resistant populations." The room fell silent. Every ambassador knew what that meant. They had all participated in such operations before, though none spoke of them openly. Ambassador Nethka from Proxima shifted uncomfortably. "These humans seem unusually determined. Perhaps we should request fleet support before beginning pressure." "Tactics," Zeth Ka almost laughed. "Fleet support? Against a species that barely reached their own moon? Our ship alone could devastate their entire civilization. They have no defenses against energy weapons. Their primitive missiles cannot penetrate our shields." He activated the strategic display. Earth appeared in the center, surrounded by data about human military capabilities. The numbers were laughably small. "Their most powerful weapons are fusion bombs," Zeth Ka continued. "Our defensive screens can absorb such attacks without strain. Their fastest ships use chemical propulsion. Even their orbital installations are defenseless against a single antimatter torpedo. The ambassadors nodded. The facts were clear. Humanity possessed no technology that could threaten a Confederation vessel. Contact the human leadership, Zeth Ka ordered. Request an immediate meeting to discuss revised membership terms. 2 hours later, they were back in the same meeting room. Secretary General Santos entered with her usual diplomatic smile, but Zeth Ka noticed her eyes were harder now. General Morrison and Dr. Chen flanked her, along with several new faces he did not recognize. "Ambassador," Santos said as she took her seat, "I understand you wish to discuss our decision further." "Indeed," Zeth Ka replied. "After consulting with my superiors, I have new information that may change your perspective." He activated a holographic display showing detailed scans of Earth's geology. The quantrium deposits appeared as bright red zones deep beneath the surface. "Your world contains resources of immense value to galactic civilization," he said. "The Confederation is prepared to offer much more favorable terms in exchange for mining rights to these deposits." Santos studied the display without expression. "What kind of terms?" "Full technological uplift. Immediate access to medical advances that would double your average lifespan. Fusion power plants to eliminate your energy problems. Agricultural techniques to feed your entire population with ease." He paused for effect. "In exchange, the Confederation would establish mining operations in specified zones. Your people would benefit from employment and technological transfer." "And if we refuse these revised terms?" General Morrison asked. Zeth Ka's diplomatic mask began to slip. "General, I hope that will not be necessary to discuss. The benefits are obvious." "But if we refuse," Morrison pressed. "What then?" The room fell silent. Zeth Ka felt all eyes on him. The moment of truth had arrived. "The Confederation cannot allow strategic resources to remain undeveloped," he said carefully. "If Earth cannot manage these deposits responsibly, other arrangements would need to be made." Dr. Chen leaned forward. "Other arrangements?" "The Confederation has a responsibility to the galactic community. Sometimes difficult decisions must be made for the greater good." Santos stood slowly. "Ambassador, are you threatening us?" Zeth Ka also stood, his diplomatic training finally cracking completely. "I am explaining reality, Secretary General. The Confederation controls this entire galactic region. Our fleets patrol every system. Our technology is centuries ahead of yours." He gestured to the view screen, which now showed the diplomatic ship in orbit above Earth. "My vessel alone carries enough firepower to devastate your civilization. Your weapons cannot even reach us, much less threaten us. You have no allies, no defenses, no options." The human delegation sat in stunned silence. Finally, Santos spoke very quietly. "So the generous offer of membership was never real. You want our resources, and you don't care what we want." "What you want is irrelevant," Zeth Ka snapped. "You are a primitive species on a single world. The Confederation spans thousands of systems. Submit to integration and retain some dignity, or face the consequences of defiance." General Morrison's hand moved to something at his belt. Santos placed a restraining touch on his arm. "I see," she said calmly. "Then I suppose we need to contact someone with more authority to discuss this situation." Zeth Ka laughed harshly. "Authority? You are the highest authority your species possesses." Santos smiled, and for the first time since negotiations began, she looked genuinely pleased. "Actually, Ambassador, that's not quite true. Perhaps you should speak with our fleet admiral. I believe she's just arrived in system." Zeth Ka stared at Secretary General Santos with confusion. "Fleet admiral?" The humans had no fleet. Their most advanced ships barely reached their moon. The intelligence reports were clear about their primitive space capabilities. "I'm afraid I don't understand," Zeth Ka said slowly. Your species has no interstellar fleet. Your ships use chemical propulsion. Santos maintained her calm smile. Ambassador, I think you'll find that your intelligence reports may have missed a few details about human capabilities. Before Zeth Ka could respond, his communicator chirped urgently. Commander Vixna's voice crackled through the device with barely controlled panic. Ambassador! Emergency on the bridge! You need to return immediately! Zeth Ka felt a chill run down his spine. Vixna had served with him for 50 years. Nothing rattled her composure. I must return to my ship, he told the human delegation. This meeting is not over. Of course not, Santos replied pleasantly. Take all the time you need. Zeth Ka transported back to his ship in record time. The bridge was in chaos when he arrived. Crew members huddled over their instruments, speaking in urgent whispers. Warning lights flashed red across multiple panels. Report! Zeth Ka demanded. Commander Vixna turned to him with wide eyes. Sir, we have detected a massive hyperspace emergence at the edge of the system. The energy signature is unlike anything in our databases. Show me. The main view screen activated, displaying long-range sensor data. Zeth Ka studied the readings and felt his blood turn cold. The energy displacement from the hyperspace entry was enormous. Whatever had just arrived was at least 10 times larger than his diplomatic vessel. Could it be a Confederation fleet responding to our situation? He asked hopefully. Negative, sir. The hyperspace signature is completely unknown. And, sir, Vixna hesitated. The energy readings suggest a single massive vessel, not a fleet. Zeth Ka's scales began to rattle involuntarily. How massive? Preliminary estimates indicate a length of over 15 kilometers. The bridge fell silent. 15 kilometers was larger than most space stations. No species in the known galaxy built ships that large. The engineering challenges alone were considered impossible by Confederation science. That cannot be correct, Zeth Ka said firmly. Run the scan again. Sir, we've run it 6 times. The readings are consistent. The tactical officer suddenly straightened at his station. Ambassador, the contact is moving, bearing directly for our position. On the screen, a new dot appeared at the edge of the sensor range. It moved with impossible smoothness, covering vast distances in minutes. As it approached, more details became visible. Zeth Ka watched in growing horror as the shape resolved itself on their sensors. The vessel was not just large, it was a masterpiece of engineering that defied everything he thought he knew about technology. The ship's hull was dark gray, almost black, with geometric patterns that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. Weapon ports dotted its surface like stars in the night sky. Energy readings showed power cores that should have been theoretically impossible for any known civilization. Sir, the communications officer called out in a shaky voice, we're receiving a transmission, audio and visual. Put it through. The view screen changed to show the interior of what was obviously a command bridge, but this was not the cramped, functional space of Confederation vessels. This bridge was vast, with multiple levels connected by flowing ramps. Holographic displays floated in the air around workstations that looked more like works of art than military equipment. In the center stood a human woman. She was perhaps 50 years old with short gray hair and dark skin marked by old scars. Her uniform was deep blue with silver trim, cut in a style that spoke of both function and ceremony. But it was her eyes that made Zeth Ka's breath catch. They were the eyes of someone who had commanded in real battles, who had made life and death decisions, and lived with the consequences. Greetings, the woman said in a voice that carried absolute authority. I am Fleet Admiral Chen Rodriguez of the United Earth Navy ship Leviathan. I understand you have been negotiating with our diplomatic representatives. Zeth Ka found his voice with difficulty. Admiral, how is this possible? Our intelligence indicated that your species has no interstellar capability. Rodriguez smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. Your intelligence was designed to see exactly what we wanted it to see, Ambassador. The question is, what happens now? You're bluffing, Zethka said desperately. One ship, even a large one, cannot threaten the entire Confederation. One ship? Rodriguez looked amused. Computer, display fleet positions. The transmission expanded to show a tactical overview of the entire solar system. Zethka's compound eyes widened in disbelief. Dozens of contacts appeared on the display, each one representing a vessel larger than anything in the Confederation arsenal. Ships emerged from behind asteroids where they had been hiding. Others decloaked near the outer planets. Their stealth. Systems finally revealing them. A few rose from what appeared to be permanent bases on airless moons. 47 ships of the line, Rodriguez said calmly. 12 carrier platforms, 38 support vessels, all of them armed with weapons your people have never seen before. Zethka stared at the display in shock. Where had this fleet come from? How had they hidden it? How had the Confederation's vast intelligence network missed an entire space navy? This is impossible, he whispered. Ambassador, Rodriguez continued, your people made a critical error. You assumed that because we don't use your technology, we don't have any technology. You saw chemical rockets and assumed we were primitive. You never asked why a species would choose to hide their real capabilities. On the screen, one of the human ships fired what appeared to be a test shot at a nearby asteroid. The energy beam that lanced out was impossibly bright, and the asteroid simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed or broken apart, but utterly eliminated as if it had never been. There. Our weapons operate on principles your science doesn't understand, Rodriguez explained. Our ships are powered by energy sources you've never discovered. Our defenses can absorb anything in your arsenal without strain. Zethka felt his worldview crumbling. Why? Why hide all of this? Why pretend to be primitive? Because we've been watching the Confederation for a very long time, Rodriguez replied. We've seen how you operate, how you integrate species, how you strip away their independence and turn them into resource farms for your core worlds. The Admiral moved closer to the camera. We've intercepted your communications, Ambassador. We know about the Quantrium deposits. We know about your real mission here. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Zethka's mind raced. This changed everything. Earth was not a helpless primitive world. It was a hidden superpower that had been watching and waiting. But surely the Confederation could still... You cannot fight the entire Confederation, he said weakly. We control thousands of systems, millions of ships, billions of soldiers. Do you? Rodriguez asked quietly. Or do you control scared, oppressed populations who would rebel if they thought they had a chance? She gestured, and new information appeared on the display. Star charts showing Confederation, territory. But now, red markers highlighted dozens of systems in rebellion, independence movements, resistance fighters, worlds that had tried to leave the Confederation and been forcibly reintegrated. Some of your loyal members have been asking for help, Rodriguez said. We've decided to answer those calls. Zethka realized with growing horror that this was not just about Earth. The humans had been planning something much larger. They had been preparing for war against the entire Confederation. What do you want? He asked desperately. Rodriguez's expression hardened. We want you to leave. Return to your masters and deliver a message. Earth is not interested in membership. We are not interested in being protected. But we are very interested in protecting others. The transmission ended, leaving Zethka staring at a blank screen. Around him, his crew worked frantically at their stations, trying to understand the technology they had just witnessed. For the first time in his 300 years of diplomatic service, Ambassador Zethka realized he was completely out of his depth. Zethka sat in his command chair, staring at the tactical display in stunned silence. The human fleet surrounded his diplomatic vessel like predators, circling wounded prey. Each ship was a masterpiece of technology that made Confederation vessels look like primitive toys. "Sir," Commander Vixnaw said quietly, "what are your orders?" Before Zethka could answer, his communications system activated. Secretary General Santos appeared on the screen, but she was no longer in the meeting room. She stood on what was clearly the bridge of one of the human warships. "Ambassador," she said with the same diplomatic smile, "I hope you've had time to process the situation. Fleet Admiral Rodriguez would like to continue your conversation." The image shifted to show Admiral Rodriguez standing before a massive view screen that displayed the entire solar system. The human fleet was arranged in perfect formation, each ship positioned to maximum tactical advantage. "Ambassador Zethka," Rodriguez began, "I want to make sure you understand what you've discovered here today. This isn't just about Earth refusing to join your confederation. This is about fundamentally changing how things work in this part of the galaxy." Zethka found his voice. "Admiral, surely we can reach some accommodation. The Confederation has always been willing to negotiate with equals." Rodriguez laughed, a sound with no humor in it. "Equals. Ambassador, your people have never treated anyone as equals. You absorb civilizations and strip away everything that makes them unique. You turn diverse species into identical copies of your ideal member state." She gestured to the display, which now showed detailed intelligence reports about Confederation operations. "We know about the forced relocations on Kepler 7. We know about the cultural purification programs on Vega Prime. We know about the mining operations that poisoned the water on Tau Ceti 4. Zethka felt his scales go cold. Those operations were classified at the highest levels. "How could you possibly know about—" "We've been watching for a long time," Rodriguez interrupted. "While you thought we were primitive, we were building an intelligence network that spans half the galaxy. We have friends on worlds you've never heard of, allies among species you consider properly integrated." The display changed to show communication logs, supply records, and movement orders. Evidence of Confederation oppression that should have been impossible for outsiders to obtain. "The Zalari rebellion you mentioned earlier," Rodriguez continued. "We've been supplying them with weapons and tactical support for 2 years. The Independence movement on Rigel. We helped them establish secure communications. The resistance fighters on Deneb, they're using our technology to hide from your security forces." Zethka's worldview completely collapsed. The Confederation wasn't just facing a single rebellious planet. They were facing a coordinated resistance movement backed by a hidden superpower. This is an act of war," he stammered. "No," Rodriguez said firmly. "This is liberation. Your Confederation has grown fat and lazy on the backs of oppressed peoples. You've forgotten that real strength comes from willing cooperation, not forced submission." She moved closer to the camera, her scarred face filling the screen. "Let me tell you something about humans, Ambassador. We've been fighting tyrants for our entire history. We know what oppression looks like. We know how to resist it. And we know how to help others resist it." The display shifted again, showing star charts with planned operations. Supply routes to rebel systems, safe passages for refugees, coordination, points for resistance movements. "We've spent 50 years preparing for this moment," Rodriguez explained. "While your people thought we were too primitive to matter, we were building alliances with every species that wanted freedom from your protection. We've been sharing technology with worlds you consider safely under control." Zethka stared at the scope of the operation. It was massive, spanning dozens of systems and involving millions of beings. The humans had orchestrated the largest resistance movement in galactic history right under the Confederation's nose. What do you want from us?" he asked weakly. Secretary General Santos stepped forward. "We want you to go back to your leaders and deliver a message. The age of the Confederation is ending. Member worlds will be given a choice: genuine independence or continued membership in a reformed alliance based on equality and mutual respect." "And if the Confederation refuses?" Zethka asked. Admiral Rodriguez smiled coldly. Then we'll help them understand their new situation. Our fleet isn't just for show, Ambassador. We've been preparing for war while you've been growing soft from centuries of easy victories. To demonstrate her point, Rodriguez ordered a weapons test. The massive ship fired a beam weapon at a distant moon. The energy discharge was so powerful that it cracked the moon's surface from pole to pole. The display of raw firepower was beyond anything the Confederation could match. Our technology doesn't just exceed yours, Rodriguez explained. It operates on entirely different principles. Your shields can't stop our weapons. Your armor can't absorb our energy beams. Your sensors can't track our stealth systems. She paused, letting the implications sink in. More importantly, your people have no experience fighting a real war. When was the last time a Confederation fleet faced an enemy that could fight back? When was the last time your commanders had to make life-and-death tactical decisions? Zeth-Ka realized she was right. The Confederation military was designed for overwhelming primitive species and maintaining order among conquered populations. They had no experience with peer-level conflict. You're asking us to abandon everything the Confederation has built, he said desperately. We're asking you to become what you always claimed to be, Santos replied. A genuine alliance of free peoples working together for mutual benefit. The choice is yours. Admiral Rodriguez stepped forward again. But understand this, Ambassador. The liberation of oppressed worlds has already begun. With or without Confederation cooperation, those worlds will be free. The question is whether your people will adapt to the new reality or try to fight a war they cannot win. The transmission ended, leaving Zeth-Ka alone with his thoughts. Around him, his crew waited for orders that he didn't know how to give. After several minutes of silence, Commander Vix-Na spoke carefully. Sir, what should we tell High Command? Zeth-Ka considered his options. He could report that Earth was more dangerous than anyone had imagined. He could recommend immediate military action before the human threat grew larger. He could suggest negotiations to find a middle ground. But as he looked at the tactical display showing 47 human warships surrounding his vessel, he realized the truth. The balance of power in the galaxy had already shifted. The Confederation could adapt or be swept aside. Set course for home, he ordered quietly, and prepare a full report for the Supreme Council. They need to know that everything has changed. As his ship prepared to leave the solar system, Zeth-Ka took one last look at the blue-green world that had just shattered the Confederation's dominance. Earth looked peaceful from space, but he now knew it hid the most dangerous civilization in the known galaxy. The humans had been patient, careful, and ruthless in their preparations. They had turned the Confederation's own arrogance against them, using the illusion of primitiveness to hide their true capabilities until the perfect moment to reveal themselves. Now the galaxy would learn what happened when humanity decided to stop hiding. As his ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying news that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization, Zeth-Ka couldn't help but wonder if the Confederation would be wise enough to accept the new reality or foolish enough to fight a war they had already lost. Behind him, the human fleet maintained its perfect formation around Earth, ready to defend their world and liberate any others that asked for help. The age of forced membership was ending. The age of true freedom was about to begin.